I always use the TIPS, which is also the scouting references for the Ajax Academy. So the T stands for technique, the I stands for insight, intelligence, the P for personality, and the S for speed. Technically, I was okay. My insight and football intelligence was okay. My personality was okay, and I had no speed. So, so basically, I knew deep down inside, I knew that you know, I was a prospect, but I was living in a very rural area. Um, but I was never going to be a top shot, even though my dream was always to play for Ajax. Like many young kids, have a dream to play for a big club, and you think that is going to happen at some point. But no, so my experience was relatively limited. But I did play at the third level for a good number of years. So I was pleased with that and built a lot of friendships through those years. I enjoyed, maybe that sounds a little strange, but I enjoyed training more than I enjoyed the games.
That's interesting.
And so I also think there was too much pressure for me to perform in games, and I felt very comfortable in a training setting.
Yeah.
So, and I've worked with many kids, and with some I see the same. They're excellent in training,
Mhm.
unbelievable. But then when it comes down to a true match, and there's a little bit of pressure on performance and results, then sometimes there's a blockage that you can see with young kids already. So,
Yeah.
and that has become my niche, so to say.
Mhm.
And, I still love it every day. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the good thing with working with the kids at a young age, regardless what age you are, you just feed off their energy.
Correct. Correct. And you stimulate them, and you give them some ideas, and you want them to show their character, and help them develop their football, but also consider all the life skills that come with it. And
Mhm.
and I think it's brilliant because at a young age they're like sponges. They have high energy. They want to learn. They want to run. They copy each other. Fantastic. So I truly enjoy the 8 to 12 age groups. Yeah.
From that journey, I understand you spent a long time at Ajax.
Correct.
It played a
Correct.
big part in your life. Tell us, how did it come about, first of all, that you got involved at Ajax, and explain your role?
I moved to Qatar and I got a job with the Football Federation in Qatar.
Uh-huh.
Well, and guess who was my neighbor?
Who?
Frank de Boer.
Oh, wow.
So Frank de Boer was my neighbor. And like I said, I always wanted to play for Ajax, but I wasn't good enough to play there. But
Uh-huh.
now I have Frank de Boer as my neighbor, and Ronald, his brother, was there as well, and I played golf with his brother. So I was in a candy store. Uh, I stayed there for 2 years. From there, I moved to Kazakhstan, and then after Kazakhstan, after I didn't get my money anymore. Oh, it's a cash society there. So
Mhm.
every 2 weeks, I had to go into the office, and I get a plastic bag with dollars.
Right.
And then one day I go to the office and there's a big line because all the players are there from the first team and all the staff, and you have to wait a couple hours. And when it was my turn, the money was gone.
Oh,
And then 2 weeks later, the money was gone. And then I asked for a meeting because basically they don't like confrontation, but they're telling me that I've done something wrong,
mhm,
and
mhm,
that's why they didn't pay me. And uh, and the thing that I did wrong was, in their opinion,
mhm.
is I lost the match I lost a match with the under 19s that I wasn't supposed to lose. So, um, and I rotated players into the field, and I had a young kid who was very talented, and I gave him too much playing time. It was not, it wasn't, and so they were a little bit upset with me, and that's why they didn't give me my salary. So I said, okay, well, I said, if you can't pay me, then there's no reason for me to stay much longer. So.
Mhm.
So I stayed there for eight months, and then I went back to Amsterdam.
Mhm.
And the idea was I'm going to stay a few months, visit family and friends, and just take a look at the level of youth football in my country. So I visited with PSV and with Ajax and with Utrecht and various clubs.
Mhm.
And then I thought to myself, okay, I've been working in youth football now for a long time. I've always been the one in charge. Wouldn't it be nice to work for a Dutch club and actually learn again
Yeah.
and be part of a training group of specialists? So, so I put my eyes, of course, on Ajax. I said, if I'm not good enough to play here, but maybe I'm good enough to be a trainer coach here.
Mhm.
So I approached the um, director of the academy on a Saturday. And as you know, in Holland, the academies are open to the public. So you can just walk in and observe some games. So I approached the academy director and I said, listen, I'm interested in an interview.
Mhm.
And he looked at me and said, well, no, I said, I've been working in the US, I've been working in Kazakhstan, I've been in Qatar, and I said, I have a lot of knowledge and experience, especially with the 8 to 12 age group. And I said, I look at the level of players here, and I said, I'm not impressed,
Mhm.
which was a lie, of course, because I was very impressed with the level of the Ajax Academy.
Yeah.
So he said, okay, he said, you can contact my PA and we'll set up a coffee meeting. So,
Uh-huh.
okay. So 2 weeks later, this was on the schedule, and then the academy director got fired.
Oh.
So I was back to square one. Shortly after, a new academy director was appointed. I got hold of his phone number. I called him and I said, "Listen, I'm in the middle of an application process to become a trainer coach here." But I said the former academy director is gone, and I think you need to follow up with me,
Mm.
which again was a small lie. But I wanted to be there in that environment.
Yeah.
And then I pulled out my card. I said, I know Frank and Ronald. I said Frank was my neighbor, and Ronald I play golf with, and so I got an interview. I presented myself in a professional way, and I indicated that my strongest interest was under 8, under 12. I
Mhm.
said, I'll be happy with a contract of 1 year. I'm not going to negotiate a salary with you. You decide what you want to. I just want to be here.
Mhm.
And so they offered me a 1 year contract. And then um, I got the under 12 age group.
Mhm.
And above me were two under 13 teams.
Mhm.
So, and one team was coached by Frank de Boer, that was his starting job, and the other one was giving to Dennis Bergkamp.
Wow.
So
Wow.
now all of a sudden, I can put on the Ajax polo, and these are the two colleagues that I work with primarily.
That's amazing.
So again, I was in a candy store and really learned a lot. And I must say, these are guys with tremendous football careers, but they're really down to earth. They're really interested in my experience and what I've done. And obviously, I had more flight hours than
Mhm.
they had with young kids. So I never felt intimidated or I never felt not welcome.
Mhm.
Um, But they obviously also shared knowledge and expertise about mental preparation on games and on training and concerns that they had and trainers that they valued, etc. So very valuable experience. Stayed with the under 12 age group for 3 years, and in those 3 years, I saw many people coming into the club from Bulgaria, from Singapore, from Australia, from Africa, South America. Everybody wanted to come visit and see what the secret was from the Ajax Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Many of them um, were making pictures, videos, but had no clue what was being said on the training pitch
Yeah.
or on game day. So I made a plan for the board of the club, and I said, okay, is it an idea that we actually uh, become an official host when foreign visitors arrive at the academy? We offer them a cup of coffee. We tell them about the academy model. We show them around. We take them to the stadium. We give them a full package. And I said, we can also make arrangements that we take our brand outside of Holland
Mm-hmm.
and explain in other countries the methodology of the academy. And we do demo sessions for kids, and we help the management with all kinds of questions that they may have. Now, and they gave me green light,
Mm-hmm.
and I was able to build that part of the Ajax program, and my title was the Youth Academy Consultant. And in those, I've done that for 7 years, and in those 7 years, we had about 75 people of 75 different countries visit the Ajax Academy, and we've done projects in about 40 countries
Wow.
outside of Holland. And obviously, then you learn from each other.
Yeah.
And you also realize that the starting situation, as you know, Tim, the starting situation with kids that are 7, 8, 9 is not so much different.
Mm-hmm.
So in the base, everybody has a great opportunity to become the best person that he or she wants to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was fortunate to meet you at a clinic that you delivered in Belfast.
Correct.
And it was so interesting. I mean, I've got a passion ever since I started coaching at 18 to always continue my education. You never stop learning. And I set a target to travel to 2 different clubs each year. I can't wait till travel opens up again to be able to get back again. I would always try and go to an English club, but also a top European club. And I was fortunate enough to be over at Ajax on a couple of occasions. But on one of those occasions, you kindly came and met me and my colleagues, and we sat around a table drinking coffee, and you were giving us the ethos of Ajax and the academy setup. And I mean, this was just, to me, it was like football porn.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And it was so
that's
refreshing to have such a top professional club have, you know, one of their experts take time out of their busy schedule to sit around and explain to us and just exchange ideas.
correct. But Tim, as you know, football is for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
It should not be limited to, everybody should have access to knowledge and expertise, and that has always been my interest as well. And I never understand why at some point information is being blocked, because
Mm-hmm.
you want to make sure that the next generation kids will get all the opportunity possible.
Yeah. So
And
refreshing to hear that.
yeah, and if you have aspiring young youth football specialists, you want to help them the best you can,
Mm-hmm.
and just share. And I mean, I was fortunate to be in the Ajax environment,
Mm-hmm.
so share is the best you can do. Mm. And that was, Donny van der Beek, Steven Bergwijn, that both play in England right now.
Mm-hmm.
So those were the guys that, so that age group said that they're extremely gifted.
Mm-hmm.
As I can see now at the rosters from the '96 group, none of them play in the first team of Ajax, or none of them play in a top club in Europe. And the '97 group, there's a lot of players that are playing everywhere.
Yeah.
And the '98 group that I had afterwards was a little bit in between there. But just keep in mind, Tim, when I started with even with the '96 group, and I had 15 or 16 players. I mean, 12 or 13 are professional football players somewhere.
It's incredible.
So the ratio, the percentages are at Ajax are very, very high. I think it's right now it is around 85%. If you reach under 18, 85% starts with the contract in professional football.
Wow.
And usually there's one or two, they're academically very strong. So the parents are pushing for scholarship in the USA and then play collegiate football. And there's always one that through injuries or is not being able to keep up. But the percentages are extremely, extremely high. Yeah.
And you mentioned Donny van der Beek. Hasn't quite happened for him yet at Manchester United.
No, and I think at the time we thought it was better for him to stay one more year at Ajax. He had a fantastic season, but it was better for him to stay one more year. And going to Man United with the players that I already had in midfield, it was going to be obvious that he was not going to be a starter. And I also think that the manager was not really keen on signing him. More a deal that was made between Man U and Van der Sar.
Yeah.
So and now you've seen. I mean, he's only played in five games, but the good thing is that Frank de Boer obviously knows him from his Ajax period. So he's going to take him to the European Championship.
Yeah.
And hopefully he can rebound next season. And hopefully he'll get a fair shot, and then he has to prove that he's good enough to play there.
Yeah. I suppose it takes time for players to adapt, especially a different country and different style of football.
No, and I think specifically playing in England, which is the football is extremely quick. It's very athletic. It's very high quality. So it's very difficult to blend in. Yeah. Especially coming from the Dutch league, which is more a development league for young players that get time in the first team, but it's not a top league in Europe, obviously.
In terms of the system, we know that the Dutch do the 4-3-3 with the different variants, of course. So is there a style at the academy at Ajax, depending on what side the players play, determines what system, or does that change?
Well, it is changing by which style the first team is playing. So this past season or this season, the style was a 1-4-3-3 with a number 10 player again. But in the previous season, it was a 1-4-3-3 with a number 6 and 2 attacking midfield players. So, and since it then is changing in the first team, then obviously the academy is going to adapt to that.
Yeah.
So that in the reserve team, they also play with a number 10. So if he's being called up for the first team, then obviously he knows the responsibility of the position, but the environment is different because it's higher quality, it's quicker, decision making has to be quicker, etc. But there is a true line. So with the youngsters, under 8, under 9, under 10, they play 6 against 6. um, in a 1-2-1-2 formation. So there is a playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
And under 11 and under 12 play 8 against 8. And there it's a 1-3-1-3 setup, also with a playmaker. So that connects then to the 11 aside.
Yeah, yeah.
And that is, and one thing that they've done, which is quite interesting, um, and they've done some pilots with under 13 to under 16, where there's team training, there's small group training, and there's individual training.
Mm-hmm.
And in the small group training, you can have a topic. So, for example, heading, or you can have one against one situations, or you can have passing and receiving. But you can also say, okay, we are going to divide the group by weight, and then similar to martial arts, do some training in the same weight class.
Mm-hmm.
But what they've also done, and that to me is quite intriguing because I haven't seen that anywhere else, is where, for example, the number 10 of the first team and the number 10 of the reserve team and the number 10 of the under 18, under 17, and under 16 would have a joint session.
Right.
So do joint sessions per position
Okay.
and mentor each other.
Fantastic.
And that is great inspiration, of course, for young players. And at the right time, we can see which more experienced players may have the tools to become a trainer coach in the future.
That's very interesting.
So, and those are things that always at a club as Ajax, and obviously they're not the only club in Europe that are very innovative. There's many other clubs as well. But this is an example where you step outside of your boundaries and you try something, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't work, you adjust again.